The Pit Press Podcast.
Reynolds launches from downtown. No. Van Horn, no. And that's it. New Mexico with it.
Some big-time games and shots. How about this? Where have you been? MC knocking him down twice. Looking top and keeping it alive. House from knee. Got it. This kid is amazing. This is what got them in trouble. That ball screen giving up the mid-range. Look at this foul. House again. It's topping. Fifth assist.
And New Mexico's going to dribble out the clock. The Lobos three-peat as conference tournament champions Kendall Williams fires the ball into the air. But New Mexico wins it this afternoon 64-58 over San Diego State. And the Lobos claim the Mountain West Conference's automatic bid into the NCAA tournament.
Welcome. Third time's the charm. All right, we're working now. Not that you could see it. Welcome to another episode of the Pit Press Podcast. Hey. Big win to get to over Nevada. Sure, a lot of people are very happy about that. But let me get to my panel here. As always, I'm joined by my business partner with the Pit Press and New Mexico Alumni Media, the name of our parent company, Mr. Eric Moulton. Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, Ryan. I'm good, man. Really stoked with the outcome of last night's game. Really impressed by how well they played in the first half, the overall ball movement, how efficient they were, and a little relieved to know that Donovan Dent's going to be all right moving forward. Not sure if he's going to miss some upcoming games or not yet, but let's get into it a little bit more.
All right, I'm just preparing people. He's a little under the weather. You can follow him at NM Sportscapper on Twitter, Mr. Jacob Neff. Hey, man, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ryan. Just trying to get over the sickness, but I did get to watch the game last night its entirety. I wasn't tweeting like I normally do, but that was just because I didn't feel up to it. So get back to that next game, but glad to talk about last night's game and go over the win against Nevada.
I'm sure when you're ill, Twitter's the last place. Excuse me, X is the last place you want to be. All the way from the Bay Area, a two-time offensive state lineman for San Juan Mendoza. Played for Damian Segura. He survived the 49ers losing the Super Bowl in the Bay Area, I think for a second time. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. I drank a Celsius a couple hours ago, so I won't be sleeping anytime soon, and I'm ready to talk about this game. And yeah, a lot of upset fans here in the Bay Area, and firing the defensive coordinator today as well, raising more questions about the team. But I'm well and ready to roll.
His name is Ricky Thompson, and you can follow him on Twitter at rthompson1050. And he is the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs and a Lobo fan since 1970, Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how are you doing?
Hey, fell out for a little bit last time watching the game, but I woke up and watched it. My wife and I just rewatched the last 5 minutes about an hour ago, so she hadn't choose to sleep while she wanted to watch it. Exciting last 5 minutes, so I'm excited to talk about it. A good win.
And the Steve Alford, Craig Neal factor, and we'll get back to that. Hey, we also want to thank our other sponsors who have made this show possible. If you're looking for a place to watch the Lobos when they are on the road, head over to Turquoise Desert Tap Room. It's only a few minutes away from Santa Ana Star Casino. Catch the Lobos, other college basketball, the NBA, the NHL. Stop by for food, drinks, and basketball. Turquoise Desert Tap Room also serves local brews on tap. Find them on Facebook, find them on Instagram at Turquoise Desert Tap Room. And just a PSA here, watch party there. They will have a watch party for San Diego State this Friday, which is February 17th. 16th. God, I don't even know what day it is. It's Valentine's Day. I should have queued up Captain and Tennille. San Diego State is on Fox Sports 1 in Viejas, in America's finest city, San Diego, Wells, Vagina, California. I love San Diego. It's the best. We're going to have a watch party there. We're going to go live before the game. Watch party specials will start at 6 p.m. to close. Game tips at 8, or depending on what is on CBS Sports Network prior, probably not till 8:15 Mountain Standard Time. Also during the game, going to give away 2 tickets to the Colorado State game. You must be present to win. I hope I can read my own handwriting there, Eric. And Abrazo Homes, they are Lobo owned and Lobo operated. By the way, we're all going to be live. Very excited to be there. Abrazo Homes, Lobo owned and Lobo operated, and a proud supporter of the University of New Mexico Athletic Department and its student athletes. Join the movement and help Abrazo Homes build momentum by contributing to the 505 Sports Venture Foundation or the UNM Lobo Club. When you buy an Abrazo home, you become a part of the Abrazo Familia. Looking to build the perfect home in New Mexico? Find them at abrazohomes.com. And Eric, I'm going to throw it over to you about affordable solar.
Yep. Affordable Solar still continuing to do their promotion with us, offering 2 tickets also to the CSU game. I'll include some information down in the comments of this video. Go ahead and go to their website, fill out the form, make sure you include the hashtag the Pit Press to kind of enter the contest. What they're going to do is try to set up a home evaluation or at least provide some type of quote on transitioning over to solar, show you what you can save. I actually set one up and should be expecting someone to give me a call here in the next couple days, see how it goes. I'll share my experience. But go ahead and sign up, enter the contest, win free tickets.
Very awesome. Thank you for that, Eric. We're going to get into UNM and Nevada here last night. UNM escapes with an 83-82 win. One of the better, I thought, it was cool to be at Boise State last year with Daisy inbound from Dent. That was legit. But I think last night, I don't think Leon Rice is as hated as much as Steve Alford is in Albuquerque. Do have an update on UNM women's basketball. They defeat in the pit tonight. For context, on Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, they defeated San Jose State, and I just lost it. I think 72-51. Big win for them, and I had all the notes, and I just lost it. But we'll move on. They think moved to almost 20 wins on the season. Actually, I want to give everybody an update on that. Yeah, they are. If I can read it, because I need to get my eyes checked. 18-8, third in the Mountain West. 2 games back behind UNLV, UNLV's their only loss. But yeah, 72-51 win over San Jose State tonight. And Vinay Cumber had 17 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 4 for 5 from free throw. So kudos to them. It's been as we've mentioned, it's been a great season for Mike Bradbury and co. And I believe the UNM women's softball team dropped 2 today to UTEP. So just a heads up there. Now we will get into UNM beating Nevada last night, 83-82. And I thought I'd start with this play.
4-man rush.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cowboy fans. That's the Giants winning a Super Bowl in the last quarter of the century. Here you go.
To the corner. Another Mashburn. Back-to-back threes.
Jamal Mashburn hitting back-to-back threes and kind of swinging the court. I mean, UNM was almost dead to rights once. Who got fouled? Jared Lucas with an 0-3 or from a 3. He hit all 3. They went up 79-76. But we've bashed a lot of. I don't want to say the word bash. We've given Jamal Mashburn a really hard time on this podcast, and he looked more fluid last night. He sort of came across like a role player. I thought it was good. He looked good. It was impressive. I'm gonna go to Jacob Neff first on this because you had been kind of pretty hard on Mash, and then you had said he wasn't. You had texted us and said, "Hey, he's not in the game." So clearly, Patino seeing that because he hadn't been playing well. And Jamal Baker Jr. hitting 2 big threes. Thank God he's not injured for the season. Early in the game, and I think that was an X factor. And we had mentioned that, at least I had. I thought he was a big. He would be the X factor for the season. But I don't know. Jamal Mashburn Jr. kind of playing like role player last night. We've got a lot to get to in this game, especially with the Donovan Dent entry. But Jacob, I just wanted your thoughts right off the bat on Mashburn and what you saw last night.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really criticize the type of game he played last night. I mean, he wasn't like what he normally is. which is taking, shots early in the shot clock, contested mid-range jumpers. Last night, it seemed like he had a more fluidity, like you said, to his game. He wasn't looking for the mid-range jumpers. I think he drove the ball 3 times last night and made a layup and got fouled on the other 2. So as we had talked about in, previous podcasts, just pump fake it and go to the basket. These guys will fall for that because they know that that's your game. He did that. He also passed the ball a lot last night. And, with that, he really opened up the UNM offense, I thought. And it was a lot better with ball movement. He wasn't looking to force things. And, you have to commend him for playing like he did last night, right? And that's all we were asking for on the podcast. I mean, that type of player is all we need in this offense, right? It's not somebody that's going to be looking to force up shots, somebody that's looking to get their own shots. It's just whatever comes. And last night, he found himself open for 2 threes. One of them, the first one that he made, thought was a great shot. It wasn't as contested, as I thought it was at first, but still deep behind the arc. And then, Dent drives into the paint, kicks it out to Mash, who's wide open, and he steps up with confidence and makes it. You could totally tell last night, too, he had way more confidence than he had in, the previous game. So nothing but, praise for him on last night's game. And I think if he continues to do that for the rest of the season, we're going to see a different Lobos offense because it gives you so many different options. If you're not just telegraphing what you're going to do, right? If we can see it, D1 coaches can plan for it and know what's coming. So great game for Mash. Really excited to see that. And I hope that that's the turnaround that he needed in this season, because we could definitely use him coming up in this road stretch.
Ed, it's fresh in your mind. You just rewatched it. I just wanted your general thoughts.
I think Jacob makes a lot of good points there. 4 of 7 from the field last night. He didn't force a lot of shots. A couple of things, he sat out and they made a run. Rick, you made a point there saying they made a run and they did. And then when he came back, they kind of lost that. But efficient as far as his shooting. And somebody mentioned that maybe his legs were fresher since he sat out. I didn't think his shooting last week was a result of fatigue, of him missing, but he looked pretty good on the shots. Those 2 shots, let's put it like this. I think he's been maligned, by a lot of people. Some of us have said the things that we did about him, but Pitino said this in the paper. He's earned the right to take those shots. So is House. He's going to take them. Jacob, you're right. For now, for tonight, we're happy with the way he played. We're going to be mad again, maybe in a week or so, because that's the way it is. He found a way to play last night, and it's comfortable for UNM. They won. And I got to say this, he's usually a 2 dribble guy. Those last two were catch and shoot. He's surprised. That first one was decently contested, drained it. And then that's why Alfred got mad and called a timeout and threw the cup down, because Blackshear Coleman got sucked in by Dent, let Mash open. Great pass by Dent. Great find. So that's why Alfred was you don't leave the shooter. Don't leave the shooter open. And that's what, I don't know if it was Coleman or Blackshear, I can't remember. He left the shooter open and Mash drained it. So I think somebody mentioned to me today that Baker deserves 30 minutes. He's not going to get 30 minutes. He's not. He played excellent, and I thought Pitino did a great job in putting him on the defensive end. That was great defense. Length, challenged, made him fade away. Tough shot. So great adjustment there. And Ryan, you're right. Baker is that X factor. He's got more touches, catch and shoot guy. He played a big factor last night. But going back to Mash, I thought, again, for a guy that was feeling, he still has to step up and play his game. You have, even if we don't like it sometimes. Those 2 shots were huge. When they went down, look, I think we forget about the sequence of events. We don't. When House fouled Lucas, it's a bad foul, man. Anytime you foul the jump shooter, it's a bad foul, especially from 3-point land. Bad foul. Lucas drains all 3. When they went down by 3, I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh, man, this might be a tough one to get. Drain that 3. They get Davidson for 2, and then Mash drains another one. Those are huge shots, man. Huge shots. And so I got to give it to him last night. I was happy with the way he played, and I think Jacob's right. Hopefully we get a healthy balance of that, of him and Baker in the game like that, and hopefully that it goes the way it did last night. A couple of key calls, turnover, reversal calls. The ball went out They set on Toppin, then they review it, went out on Davidson. UNM gets it, Mash hits it, goes out on the sideline over there. They said it went out on Coleman, or went out on, they reviewed it, went out on UNM. So I think there was two key reviews there that really went UNM's way, which should have went UNM's way. But you never know with those things. So good game for Mash. Very, very happy the way he played.
I'm going to ask you this because per our conversation on and off air here, or recording, or on the record, it's now a season sweep of Steve Alford and Craig Neal's Nevada Wolfpack, who I like a lot of their players. I like Keenan Blackshear. I like that Nick Davidson guy. Jared Lucas is fun to watch. I mean, when Eric and I had the pleasure of meeting him, this is a guy that took a doormat program to the Elite Eight in 2021. I mean, it's awesome to meet somebody that went on that ride and is now playing, I guess you could say high level basketball in the Mountain West Conference. But you're a big proponent. I'm choosing my words carefully. I'm going to use the word dislike of Steve Alford and how he handled the situation. And I know we talked about that about 2.5 weeks ago when that savage beating, I haven't clipped that, when they beat Nevada down bad. But I think there was, that felt kind of like an undertone. I think that there was more to this game and to this season, and maybe as the program moving forward, I felt like that wasn't talked enough. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm looking for a story that isn't, because it's been 11 years, but they hadn't beaten him and now they swept them. They could run into them in Vegas. But Ed, I'm sorry for that long-winded comment. Just your thoughts.
No, let me get to this real quick. They hadn't beat them in Nevada since 2016 when Noodles was a coach. So, and remember, 20-5 and 19 and 8-4 in the conference looks a lot better than 19-6 and 7-5. Looks a lot better. So my thing with Coach Alford, maybe I'm kind of forgetting him a little bit. I still am not a huge fan. He did a great job here. He did. There's no doubt about it. I can't really even blame him for going to UCLA. It's the other dude, man. It's the other dude. When I see Noodles in that huddle, that's the dude I really I wouldn't even say, I just am not a fan of him at all. I thought he left us hanging. I thought he quit on us. And someone mentioned online, he was a Cullen Neal coach. And then when Cullen left, didn't want to coach the rest of the team. So I probably got more ill feelings toward Craig Neal than I do Steve Alford. I mean, but I still want to beat him. I'm glad he threw the cup down. I'm glad they lost. Again, Alford did a great job here. It's probably the best coach UNM's ever had after, Bob King, the architect of UNM basketball. Alford and him, you might argue Alford did a great job. He did a great job, brought UNM to another level. But when we beat him, we hadn't beat him in a long time, so we beat him twice in a row now. You bet I'm happy. You bet. Very happy.
I'm going to get to Rick and then Eric because I want to same thoughts on this. This was a 45-35 game at the half. And by the way, I'm backtracking about a little bit, but you look at what Jamal Baker Jr. did. He was 2 of 4 from the 3-point line, 2 of 5 from the field, but from 3. Now he played 22 minutes. Now it's 6 points. That's the difference maker. But Rick, again, 45-35 at the half, UNM lead. Nevada outscores them in the second half, 47-38. I wanted to know what you saw defensive adjustment wise, and they caused turnovers that allowed them to crawl back into this game. And at one point, lead by 3 by late. And I've mentioned it before. Make this quick. I know Danny Gonzalez is gone, but it just is insane to me. That we had a head football coach that ceased to make adjustments at halftime, and then Piers Patino just doesn't. And again, didn't play the game, not an X's and O's guy. I just don't know if he appears to make those halftime adjustments. But Rick, to you, what did you see that Nevada did differently in the second half as opposed to the first half?
So Nevada definitely made an adjustment on defense at halftime, and what you saw is when New Mexico came out running the pick and roll with Dent and one of the bigs up top, is they hedged out and they pretty much double teamed Dent on that screen, and that led to 2 turnovers by Dent and a quick shot, and that just led to Nevada fast breaking the other direction, and that lead evaporated by about the 16-minute mark. And What was interesting is Patino actually pulled Mashburn super early in the second half, which was at the 18-minute mark, but that didn't really matter anyway to slow them down as they caught all the way up. And just to comment on what the MASH conversation that you guys are having, and just to, I think, clarify what we're speaking about on this program is just the basketball strategy and Mash's skill set fitting in. And we've been talking about that since we had Coach Moser on pre-conference. Some people on the internet are going after Mash personally, sending him personal messages, adding him on Twitter, and that's not anything that we're doing. So when we say a hard time, we're talking about purely his basketball game and nothing beyond that, because we love that guy. He moved into 12th last night on the all-time scoring list, passing Phil Smith and Calvin Scarborough. So, we got to give him credit. And I think when we're talking about the rotations, it's going to be a game-to-game thing. I don't think it's as easy as saying, oh, Baker automatically gets 20 minutes every game. I don't expect Mash to, how many minutes did he get? 23 minutes. I don't expect him to get 23 minutes every game. Like we've mentioned, this was a bigger matchup, and everyone's acting like Patino was a genius for putting Baker in at the end. It's like he's been doing that the whole game. And if he didn't do that, then it would be kind of sad. So that's just my comment on Mash. I think great kid. He's standing up to all the haters on Twitter and just putting the work in. And even though we might not agree with some of the shots he take, it's never anything personal.
No, I think that's a valid point, and I didn't really do a good job of opening this episode. Yeah, it's a basketball with you guys. It's a fundamental thing. You can find it on here. I said he's turned into one. At least last year, he turned into one of my favorite Lobos of all time. I mean, I think his shot, how it looks, Amzil's shot is sexy as hell. Man, he just, now that he makes them, and then he had that little roll last night. He got that shooter's roll last night. That was awesome. Um, but I don't want to talk anymore. I'll let Eric get to it. Just what you saw last night from the defensive end that Nevada did in the second half, and then your general thoughts about the game.
I think Rick did a pretty good job of explaining it. I thought Nevada saw that they were kind of getting beat up on that pick and roll and letting Dent kind of control, either get to the rim or get the balls fed down into the bigs for some easy buckets. But I think they decided that they wanted to take that part of the game away. And what they did was started jumping those ball screens and getting that defender. They started switching on those early, which didn't allow for the roller to really roll or have the opportunity to. And what they did was they trapped out of it and caused a few early turnovers. And like Rick had mentioned, that 10-point lead at halftime quickly evaporated within 4 to 5 minutes. And then the Lobos had to readjust, reassess, and find a new way to kind of attack their defense. But overall, I thought that just the balance on minutes was good. Um, it's going to be a game by game situation on who's out there. You got to match up with size. You got to match up with speed, and I thought they did pretty good at doing that yesterday. Another key component to on the balance side of things is that Patino went with an 8-man rotation last night, and every single player that checked in for the Lobos at least had 5 shot attempts, and Mashburn was kind of right in the middle of that with only putting up 7 shots. I think the guy that had the most shot attempts was House with 14. He finished with 13, but Lobos finished with 5 guys in double figures. Donovan Dent was 1 point off double figures. So just the scoring balance, the overall minutes was really good and healthy. You can see it was really highly efficient. I thought they were doing a really good job on the offensive side. And even on the defensive side, I was really impressed with how well that they were defending. Um, Nelly does an incredible job of jumping those screens and really forcing the guards to push them up the floor, kind of get them out of their offensive set. And he got a couple steals. The weak side rotation was on point, and everyone just kind of communicating. Man, this defense is definitely moving at a high clip right now, and it's really fun to watch. And I think it's kind of converting into some offense, right? Kind of defense to offense, and that was my overall take. You guys already hit on the Mashburn thing. Really impressed with him. He's handled it like a pro. He is a pro. But yeah, we've kind of ridiculed his his strategy or his basketball sense on the court a little bit. But that's what we do. It's nothing personal against the guy, but it's we're just talking hoops.
This is both for Rick and Jacob, and then maybe Jacob, I'll go to you first because it was a Pete Gillen game on CBS Sports Network, and I got Tom Moser quoted him here because he's always got a bunch of sayings. Quote: "You don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard." That's a fantastic line by Pete Gillen on CBS Sports last night. He's probably Raftery and him have just Rafferty have just thinking about a place in New Jersey, New Brunswick. It's called Old Man Rafferty's. It's a restaurant. There you go, at New Jersey, number one. That's the first one of the podcast. But I'm going to go to Jacob. You and Rick mentioned this when we try to gather notes to start this. But you had both mentioned the bigs getting the ball early and often. So I'm going to ask you first. They got more touches, 22 points in the paint last night, 17 shots compared to the guards, 26 shots. I just want your overall thoughts on that because that seemed to be another key to victory.
Well, yeah, I mean that has to happen. And we talked about this in previous podcasts. Is there has to be a better distribution of shots amongst the team. You've got to keep the big guys involved. You've got to keep them fed, give them their shots. It keeps them involved in the game, but it also doesn't telegraph what you're going to do. If the guards come up and shoot the ball every single time, you automatically know that you can hedge up on the guards, and they're not really looking to pass the ball down inside. They got a flow going last night with pick and rolls. It kind of got shut down at halftime. They had to make an adjustment, but even in the second half, Dent was driving and passing it to, the inside guys, and that was opening up the floor because then they were starting to condense down on the big guys and leaving, for instance, the last shot of the game from Mashburn, they're cheating in, right? They didn't know if Dent was going to lay it in or pass it off to Nelly or whatever the case was. So really good job last night of giving that type of distribution. I think that's going to be key in this team moving forward. You could see that keeping those guys involved in the game is really going to help us. 10 for 17 from the big guys, and then you've got 14 for 26 from the guards. I mean, that's efficiency. And I know we haven't talked about this yet, but I was impressed the most last night in the first half by the Lobos than I've been in the entire season, even when they put up 55 in the first half at home, because everything was flowing correctly. It didn't look like one person was dominating the ball. There was it was distribution everywhere. And that's what it's going to take because there's so much talent on this team. It's a shame when somebody takes 20 shots in a game because there's so many talented players around them. And, last night I got to commend them. I thought that they came out ready to play. They were super efficient in the first half. And, I think that, and I said this for probably 8 weeks now, it's super important to get those big guys involved. And if they keep doing it, I think they're going to be successful.
I think you're spot on that. Ed, I was saying death by, what is it? What do I call the conference? Gauntlet of death?
Gauntlet of death.
Gauntlet of death. The way this Lobo team should win should be death by committee. I will come clean here. There's a certain person on this episode. He can come clean as well. He doesn't have to. I took Nevada. I did not trust this team on the road. And the whole time in the first half, I just kept thinking about Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, just laughing at me. So we're taking Nevada.
I'll come clean.
Yeah, it was the two of us. Tonight was much better thus far. Rick, I'm going to get to you and the rebounding thing. I beat it to death. It's something else. I beat it to death, and it's like nothing original, just with the way this season's going. But I still think about Jay Billis last March telling you how to pick your bracket, and it was the rebounds. UNM out rebounded Nevada last night on Tuesday night, 36-31. Again, I know it's cliche, but how important is that? And then just your thoughts on the big man.
Yeah, out rebounding them 36-31. That led to 17 second chance points for the Lobos. And I don't know if there's a guy in the conference, maybe Jaden Ledee, that has a second jump faster than JT Toppin. After he misses or somebody misses getting the rebound and going back up, whether it's a baby hook or a putback slam, he is just quick off his feet. And I think when you get the big guys the ball early, it just gives them energy for the whole game. And I know when I would play and you get a few buckets down low early, it gives you some confidence. And I think that really we can see that in Nelly, right? The big games that he has, he's usually involved in some pick and roll action early or some putback layups or dunks, and that kind of drives him the rest of the game. But just can't say enough about Toppin after he totally got facialed by Davidson and put on the new Mountain West poster for next year. Toppin came down on back-to-back plays, and he busted Davidson right in the chest for a layup, came back. I can't remember. He might have tipped the layup from somebody, and then he came back and scored again. So Toppin was mad. He is not backing down from anyone, and I can't believe this guy's a freshman. Every night I watch him play, I'm just more impressed. He's like a player that I would create on NBA 2K. The size, the length, and just the overall ability is incredible. And when we see those guys involved, I think we've all said the balance is there, and that's when they're just at their best.
So I just wanted to make a point. How many, let's see if you haven't studied your stat sheet yet, right? And the Lobos had 22 rebounds in their starting lineup. How many of them do you think came from the big guys?
I put my notes in front of I put my actual show notes on top of that sheet of paper. You said 22 rebounds from how many of them came?
From the starting lineup, how many of them came between Toppin and Nelly?
All of them.
22. Yeah, 22.
All 22.
Yeah.
All 22. Not one rebound from the guards last night. So you tell me that they're not active and in the game, and how important those rebounds are to the team by getting them involved. That's something that's you can't say anything about that. And then I'll quote Pete Gillian. JT Toppin's one of the best offensive rebounders in the country, and it's a big country. So
that's quite the comment. I love him, man. I was trying to find clips of him. I didn't notice that, man. 13 from Nelly Jr. Joseph from NJJ. JT Toppin 9. 0 for Dent, 0 for Mashburn, 0 for House. 2 for Baker, 5 for Amzil, 3 for True Washington. I'm not sure who brought up Amzil, but man, I thought about it last night. His shot is pretty. And he, I think, has been the most consistent player since the calendar turned to 2024. I'd have to look into that and be specific, but man, he's got confidence and he's got swagger now. They cut to him, I think, after he hit a shot, and him and House were talking, and he was kind of like, yeah, I'm sure this is the PG version. Like, yeah, I hit the shot or something. But he looks like he's gotten confidence. And Ed, I think you had mentioned that, but every episode since that, we've been like, man, this guy, we had heard grumblings that maybe this was the most disappointing guy that they brought here. He is phenomenal. I think he's been so damn good since for as negative as I am, he's been so much fun to watch. He has, we might have talked about Baker being the X factor. He might be they might have 2 X factors, but just your thoughts on his play last night. And he comes off the bench, 21 minutes, 12 points, 4 of 9 from the field, and he hits 3 of 6. I mean, he's 50% from beyond the arc, and he's got those 5 rebounds. I mean, you can't ask for more in a guy in a college game in 21 minutes.
Last night, I think when you mentioned that, I was watching the last 5 minutes. They were down 3, and they were down 3 in a couple of other sequences down the last couple of minutes. He steps in, hits a 3, and he tells the crowd, so the confidence is there. And we said this when he first started with the season with New Mexico. He came in with a lot of hype. We saw what he did at Dayton, beating Kansas on the last second shot. And for the first couple of 5-6 games, remember he did not play at New Mexico State, if I'm right, at New Mexico State. He DNP coach's decision that's in December. Now here we are in February, and he brings that off the energy off the bench. When he shoots now, I'm expecting him to make it. Even when he misses, they're right on the rim. The stroke is good. The mechanics are good. He's stepping into threes. He's shooting with confidence. He's not, inside he's up. He struggles a little bit on defense. He's a willing defender. he's not going to really be able to guard 4s or 5s. He gets bullied down there. But the 5 rebounds last night, that's pretty important, I think. So I think him and Baker, if they can count them, both of them, they hit 9 threes last night. And UNM, we mentioned, doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but they made some important ones last night. They really did. That's the other thing, the timely threes, the one by Amzil and the 2 the last minute and 7 seconds. That's what it said in the paper by Mash were huge. So I think Amzil keeps playing the way he's playing. That's only going to help the Lobos, man. They need that. And it's expected now. You know, when the season first started, first 5 games, we didn't know what to expect, and it wasn't good. Now we expect him to come in off the bench and contribute, and he has.
Something that we haven't touched upon is Donovan Dent. Funny game for him. He was 1 of 6 from the free throw line, and at one point was 0 for 5, I think. 4 or 5 from field goal. He had 9 points. He had 5 total fouls. Yeah, I didn't really 5 total fouls. That can't be right. 7 assists. But the big story is that he hopped up on the final play, the Blackshear play, which, I mean, it looked almost reminiscent of what happened here in the pit last year. Here it is.
Blackshear sets it up. Lucas comes out. The screen. Blackshear and Lucas in a 2-man game. Blackshear backing in. He takes it and misses. Rebound. Tapped up. Loose ball. Back in the hands of Blackshear. Didn't get it off. And New Mexico wins 83-82 over Nevada.
Yeah, it just looked eerily similar to last year in the pit with Blackshear. But Dent jumped up and apparently tweaked his ankle. Coach Richard Pitino went on the opening drive on KNML, the sports animal, 95.9, 6:10 a.m. And this is from JJ, friend of the show, friend of ours. Richard Pitino's, he went on the morning show and said this is from JJ Buck's Twitter. I lost my train of thought there. My bad. Richard Pitino said, quote here from the tweet or post, whatever the hell they call it now. Richard Pitino said the X-ray didn't show anything major with Donovan Dent dealing with an ankle sprain, and they will evaluate him over the next couple of days ahead of San Diego State Friday. #Lobos at 610 KNML and tweet. Eric, I'll go to you on this. Just his performance. He was still crafty Donnie Darko. I mean, he is a phenomenal player. I thought he kind of lost confidence at the free throw line, and Ed always brings this up, and it was with Amzil earlier in the year. To see the ball go through the net, and it can change your confidence. I mean, it's night and day with Amzil, but I wanted your thoughts on his play last night, and then that struggling at the free throw line. Your thoughts on it?
I don't think the thing at the free throw line is a trend, really. I think he just had a case of the yips that game. He just wasn't probably feeling the ball roll off his fingers the way that he wanted them to. But he was highly effective early in that game when the Lobos were kind of building that lead. He was having his way in that pick and roll game. I even tweeted it out that he was kind of a magician out there. He was either feeding it down low. He had 2 early assists, and they were 2 really nice passes down to Nelly for easy layups. And then he got to the basket a lot. I think that stat you were looking at with the 5 was actually 5 fouls drawn on him.
My
so
bad.
he,
Yeah, it was.
just kind of reflection of him being able to get and be physical in the paint and just being an overall ball handler. I didn't know how many assists he had, but 7 assists.
So
Solid
7.
game, man. 7 assists, 9 points, 1 game off of double digits, but he was 4 or 5. The free throws were kind of the one blemish, but just under 28 minutes. I mean, this team goes as that guy does, man. He's super effective, probably their best ball handler outside of Jalen House, but he just offers so many different ways that he can beat you, right? He can either get to the rim, he's a really good passer, and he started the game guarding Blackshear. I think it was guarding Blackshear by committee kind of throughout the flow of the game. But that was the matchup that they used in the first game against Blackshear in Nevada. And sure enough, he came out and had to guard someone bigger than he did, and he didn't back down. Glad that injury is not as serious as it kind of seemed at first. I know Neff kind of sent a text out like, man, we saw Dent go down, not exactly sure what's going on there, but I'm glad he's going to be all right. I hope he doesn't miss too much time.
I wanted to talk about Keenan Blackshear. I think he's a phenomenal player. I kind of was a little disappointed in Jared Lucas, even though he scored 19 points last night and he had 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Yeah, I can't believe I'm looking at the fouls drawn thing. He had 6 fouls drawn. I was misreading that. Keenan Blackshear, I mean, it seemed like a lot of isolation and maybe that they weren't having set plays. Jacob had kind of texted me that. I don't know if that's true. But Blackshear had 19, just want to make this 17, 7, and 6 rebounds. And I thought at one point he looked unstoppable. I think he's one of the best players in the conference right now. He's damn good. Rick, I just wanted your thoughts on his performance last night. And I thought when he had when he had the ball in his hand at the end that they were going to win.
Yeah, they made it tough for him all night. 5 of 13 from the field. He finished, like you said, with 17 points. Got to the line for 7 of 10 for there. So he's a player that manufactures points, right? And he's made those shots time and time again. It's kind of a weird shot to me. I've never really seen someone shoot like a one-handed shot like that on the baseline. It's not quite a hook or like a set shot. It's just a different type of shot, but very effective. And man, that guy is built like a tank and makes it hard for anyone getting in his way. Even a few times when he ran into Nelly was bumped back a few times. And another thing on defense that I wanted to mention from earlier is that Nelly and Toppin a lot of the time were allowing Nevada to catch the ball too far down on the block too many times. And against San Diego State, that's going to kill us with Ledee or whoever they get it to down there. So the Lobos need to push those guys out of the post and not allow easy catches down there because that's going to cost them. It gave them a lot of easy looks last night. And Blackshear obviously isn't going to the post, but he's taking it down there himself and going to work. And losing Dent, I think we can all, in my mind, he's probably not going to play on Friday. I'm not a doctor, but it looked like it fully turned over to me. And we have to think about what that game's going to look like possibly without him, right? And it's just a scary thing to think about, but that might be the reality.
No, I think that's true. I don't know. I would imagine he's not going to play. I guess True Washington could step up. I don't Rick or
Baker.
excuse me Baker. Yeah, Jamal Baker Jr. step up. Um,
If I had to
I
guess, I'd probably say it would be Baker.
yeah. You think he's going to play? Eric?
No. Dan, I don't think he's going to play. I think they have to be really cautious with him just because they have so much to play for. I mean, I don't know the severity of the injury, but it didn't look good early. And the fact that they had to send him for an x-ray and just kind of check things out, like obviously something was bad enough to indicate that. But they might see a little bit of a drop off on the offensive side, but I think Baker's very capable of handling that role. He's a seasoned player. He's been in these types of situations. I don't think he's going to see 30 plus minutes, but that's what you have Emzil and True for. You have options with this team. So I don't think it all falls on the shoulder of Donovan Dent. There have been some games where Donovan Dent has struggled and the Lobos still have won and played well collectively as a group. So I think that's just one of the luxuries with this team of how deep they are, especially at the guard position. But we just need him right and healthy for the big stretch.
That's okay. I know you guys said he didn't go to medical school. I got my medical degree at Hollywood Upstairs Medical College, so he's not going to play. I don't know. We'll find out. I think it's. I think Jalen House thrives. Excuse me, thrives in environments like that. He did it last year. As he said, he's Randy Orton. I wish he was more Macho Man Randy Savage or Stone Cold Steve Austin. But he thrives in those environments. Just some other quick notes from around from Steve Kirkland at UNM. UNM's 4 straight road wins is its longest Mountain West win streak since a 5-game conference win streak in 2013 and 2014. That was a very good year under Alfred. Excuse me, Craig Neal. I was wrong. Craig Neal. The Lobos have their best 25 game start to a season, 20-5 since the 2013-2014 season with a 20-5 record. New Mexico swept the season series from Nevada for the first time since 2015-2016 and snapped a 6-game losing streak in Reno. UNM had a double-digit halftime lead for the fourth straight road game. New Mexico has started the same 5 Dent Mashburn House Toppin in every Mountain West game this season, so that's probably going to change. Something I wanted to hit on because UNM is going to UNM. UNM is going to San Diego State on Friday night, and again, we'll be at Turquoise Desert Tap Room, and there will be specials from 6 to close, food and drink. We'll be going live prior to that, and then we'll be watching the game there. With San Diego State last night, they hosted Colorado State. They were down 14 at half, San Diego State to Colorado State. They outscored, and I'm sure people saw this, 40-11 in the second half. And I think it was 5 points. Jacob, you had said 5 points in the last 15 minutes. You all have been around the game of basketball more than I. I don't even think the Pistons in the late 80s did that. That's impressive, but I wanted to go to a tweet from Sports Illustrated and College Basketball Central's Kevin Sweeney, who we've had on, and he's also currently one of the last episodes on Jeff Grammer's podcast. But he posted this on X. It's absolutely wild how San Diego State gets officiated at Viejas. And then he reposted again. This game has been an absolute brawl all second half. Can't out physical San Diego State, and the refs let them do whatever they wanted for 15 minutes, then randomly called a CSU offensive foul and compounded with a technical on glancing off-ball contact. I have talked more about the officiating this season than I ever did as a student journalist or hosting my own show on KNML. I'd never like to talk about it. But these officials in the Mountain West Conference are the most inconsistent thing I've seen since John Kerry. It just is so bad. I mean, how do you have Isaiah Stevens and Nikkei Clifford? I know Cardia got hurt last night. You score 11 points. They outscored them by 20. I don't know. And Jacob, I'm going to go to you on that. And then we also have our in-house official with Ed Nunez, and then 2 other guys that played high school. But Jacob, I wanted to start with you on that because that is horrendous.
Yeah, they had them super frustrated from the very beginning of that half. Nothing was clicking. They were feeding the ball down to Jaden Ledee. And like Kevin Sweeney was saying, I mean, it seemed like every time he touched the ball, there was a foul. And at that point, you just don't have enough depth to keep, rotating guys in and out and get a flow with a 5-man lineup when that's happening. I think that, the Mountain West officiating has been a little inconsistent all year. You could see it from game to game. There will be a half where like 7-8 total fouls are called, and then the next half there's like 24 fouls called, and there's no way that it can change like that, because what happens is you come out in the second half and you play like you did in the first half, physical, and then they start to hit you on little touchy fouls and stuff like that. But I mean, besides the fouls, they played ridiculous defense. I mean, we can't discredit what San Diego State was doing. I mean, when you have, like you said, Naik Clifford, Stevens, Cartier, Palmer, Scott, all those guys, and you could keep them scoreless not scoreless, but I mean, it seemed like it was 5 points in 15 minutes. I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't think I've seen a team put up 11 points and a half in a long time, especially a good team like Colorado State. So you got to give them credit. And, the Lobos got to be ready. They're going to be physical with us, and that's another reason why I think Dent sits that game. I don't think you want to throw Dent out there with San Diego State's physicality. Something else happens again, and it gets prolonged till him being out till the Mountain West Conference tournament or something like that. You just don't want to risk that. So they're gonna have to be ready to really grind on Friday night. They're gonna push us, and they know we know that they know that our depth inside is not great. And you saw what happened to a team that does have some depth inside last night. They got everybody in foul trouble and consistently, made them uncomfortable. So great job by San Diego State last night. There's literally nothing else you could say besides that. And then, some people were criticizing the officiating, but the players can't, they can't do anything about that.
Well, you got to take that game into a little bit of context because Cartier played half the game. He rolled his ankle late in that first half and wasn't able to go the second half. And he's their anchor down low. San Diego State out-rebounded Colorado State 43-22. They out-rebounded them by 21 rebounds. And 13 offensive rebounds to Colorado State's 4. So you factor in some of the second chance points. Colorado State not really being able to pull any rebounds down. That just kind of goes to the physicality or plays to the physicality of San Diego State. That's just the style of play. And yeah, I can agree with the officiating piece on just the inconsistency that Ryan was mentioning. And then, yeah, you too, Jacob, on touching on that a little bit. But I mean, when you're missing your main big down low, and I don't know if Colorado State has much depth behind that, then you really struggle to compete with a player like Ladie. Then you start getting other guys in foul trouble trying to defend him because he does stretch the defense a little bit. He does have a decent shot from the mid range, but he's just so strong and physical inside the paint. Ed, you can attest to that. When you're trying to guard someone that physical and you're getting pushed around, like your fouls are just going to start piling up. You just can't defend him. You can't match up. And San Diego State just exploited that, and they had no answers for it, and they ended up running away with it. So ever more reason for the Lobos to pay attention with that.
Cartier got hurt late in the game. It wasn't the first half. They still had him.
Oh, it wasn't? Are you sure?
Yeah, no, it was. Jacob
about
and I.
6 minutes left in the second half.
Oh, I thought it was at the.
No, because
okay.
my thought was, man, they're down bad, and then he got hurt, and I was like, this is just.
I thought it was at the end of the first half he got hurt.
Yeah, it's the last. It's the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl 4 years ago between the Chiefs and the.
Okay,
49ers.
then. Well, you still have the defensive differential. Differential.
It just went bad real south. I think, Rick, I'll just get your thoughts on this, and then Ed, I'll let you finish because you were an official, and none of us here other than you know what it's like, and I can't imagine it. But Rick, just your thoughts on scoring 11 points as a Division I.
Two things really quick. If you're Colorado State and you see the game has changed to be playing that way, then you have to adjust and start hacking them as well, and playing more physical. And the second thing, Nico Medved lost his mind, and that was a fantastic flip out by him. And I think the refs knew they got the call wrong because they didn't throw him out of the game. They let him go on and on. That's the coach's name, correct?
Yeah, Nico Medved.
Yeah. Okay,
and
sorry.
he's usually like calm and collected. I've never seen him.
I know. He was letting him have it, and that was a fantastic rant by him. So as a player, you just have to adjust. If the refs are calling it that way, then you play that way.
Ed, to you.
You know what? As an official, I officiated 22 years, and so I would hear that consistent. You were inconsistent. I get it. I do. And there was times I would think, hey, we were consistent. We called things, and we're going to miss calls. I always said that you're going to miss calls as an official because you're human. Sometimes you get blocked out. Sometimes you think you had a look. I always said one of the officials, we talk about this, see the play in the beginning, middle, and end. Don't call it when it played. Let it develop a little bit. There's a lot of things. Protect the shooter. Watch the off-ball screens. Look off ball. It took me a long time to train my eyes to look off the ball. and not follow the ball. Not so. There's a lot of things to officiating. Believe me when I tell you that people have no clue about. But I'm just telling you the truth. I understand it. When a team loses, more often than not, you're going to blame the officials, man. I see it all the time. And they're not saying that they don't come in for their share of blame. I didn't say that. I saw that when the New Mexico lost to Boise State right away. The comments online, the refs were terrible, the refs this and that. They missed them. They did. But when you get outscored 41-11, hey, man, you got more problems than the refs. Believe me, got a lot more problems. That's.
I think that's. I think. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Ed. I've always said, and Jacob and I talked about this and had a little bit of an argument with it last year. The officials in the AFC title game between the Bengals and the Chiefs, and I was like, well, it was bad, but they also, and I'm stealing it from Jim Rome, like the Bengals. Joe Burrow didn't throw 2 interceptions. The officials didn't throw 2 interceptions,
Right.
but I have never talked about it. And I just think that the way that they've looked, it's just been super inconsistent. Utah State is pulling away from Wyoming. They are up 80-73. San Jose State got Air Force last night as well. The big game was, San Diego State and Colorado State. Utah State holding on to first place, so that's big. But man, this conference it's a gauntlet of death. I will give you guys a moment to think about your snake of the game or snake of the week. But here he is fabulously. My snake of the week. I've got to think about it for a second. Maybe Nico Medved. I thought it was fantastic because we met him and you never see him like blow up, and I think he had every right to be mad, but kudos to him for them allowing to do that. And when he shook Rick and to Jacob, when he shook Brian Dutcher's hand, they showed it, and he just I'm sure they're friends. He just walked over to him and shook it, and he looked away and walked, like made a beeline. I'm still in Dave Cook's joke there. I don't know why they call it a beeline, but he made a beeline straight toward the rest of the coaches and the court. He was irate. Eric, I will go to you with your snake of the game or snake of the week.
Well, the obvious choice here is Mash. But I'll leave that for someone else. My snake of the game is Baker. I really like how he came off the bench, the minutes that he got, the instant impact that he made. Definitely, in my eyes, I think he earned more minutes down the stretch of the rest of the season.
He probably did. Ed, to you.
I think I'm going to go with Mustafa Amzil. I think it's Mash is an obvious choice, but I think Mustafa Amzil came off the bench, hit some timely threes, got 5 rebounds, and is a key contributor off the bench. I don't think they win that game if he's not in the lineup. He played well and answered some runs with a timely 3. So he's my snake of the game.
I'm going to throw another one in there, the Kansas City Chiefs, because I had money on them for like 2 weeks. Rick, to you, your bra.
I'm going with Nelly, NJJ. He had effective game with 13 rebounds, 2 points, and I feel like when he plays well, it takes the team to a different level in most of those games, and it energizes him on defense. So Nelly's my snake of the game.
Man, Rick, I just saw this wild stat. Steph Curry's made more NBA history. He's hit 7 or more 3-pointers in 7 games in a row or 4 games. Man, I don't think they're any good, but damn, that's pretty impressive. That just came across from Bleacher Report on my phone. All right, to Jacob, your snake of the game, snake of the week.
Yeah, I like the post. But what I'll do is I'll go to Patino and the last 10 seconds of that game, making that change to go to Baker on defense. He could have left Mash in for the offense or in case there was a rebound, but that was huge. Baker was all over him. He did push the right buttons last night by sitting Mash when we were on a run. And I think that he, for the most part, last night coached pretty well. I don't think they made the correct adjustments coming out of halftime or being potentially ready for those, but that's going to happen in a game. He didn't let any runs get completely out of control. He used his timeouts well. So I'll give it to Patino last night to make some of these key decisions that he hasn't made all season to win us a game at the end of it.
And am I missing somebody? Ed, did I go to you? I forgot.
You did.
I did.
did.
Perfect. Who did I miss? I got everybody right.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Did you
Sorry,
give one?
terrible. Yeah, Nico Medved and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know what I forgot before I wanted us to get out of here was bracketology, because this is what Gary Parrish had said last night post game. I think it's on College Basketball Tonight, so kudos to CBS. This was on their Twitter, and he was talking to Roy Hibbert.
You cannot overstate how big of a win that is for New Mexico to go on the road and beat a team like Nevada. That's a quadrant one victory, and they needed it because after giving one away over the weekend at home to UNLV, that really bangs up your resume. That was a quadrant three loss that pushed them out of the bracket, according to Jerry Palm, the CBS Sports bracket expert. I don't want to speak for Jerry. I'm not qualified to do that. But when you are just on the wrong side of the bubble and you get a big quadrant one win like this on the road, next time that bracket is updated, I would suspect New Mexico is going to be in it.
Wasn't Adam Zucker, but I liked his laugh because it was like this. It was like Ace Ventura. Jacob, I'm going to go to you because the Mountain West posted this yesterday, and this is as of February 12th and the 13th. As of February 12th, CBS Sports has Boise as an 8 seed, Boise State as an 8 seed, Colorado State as a 5 seed, Nevada as an 8 seed, UNM the first team out, San Diego State as a 4 seed, which blows my mind. Even though they kind of, from a score standpoint and what they did in the second half last night, okay. Utah State as a 5 seed. Fox Sports Mike DeCourcy had Boise as a 10, Colorado State as a 6, Nevada as a 10, UNM as an 8 seed, San Diego State as a 6, Utah State as a 7. ESPN and Joseph Lenardi had Boise as a 10, Colorado State as a 7, Nevada and UNM as 11s. I don't know. I think those were the last 4 in, so they would play in Dayton. Hypothetically, San Diego State as a 5, Utah State as a 7, and I know you're going to go off on Jerry Palm again, but Jacob, just your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's still ridiculous that a team that high in the if the Lobos were to not make the tournament that high in the net, it'd be the first time in I can't even tell you how many years that a team in the top 25 in the net hasn't made the tournament at an at-large bid if they didn't get like the conference automatic bid. So I think it's kind of crazy from that perspective because you hear about how well this conference is playing. You hear about how they're going to get more teams in than the Pac-12 and
maybe the
bigger
ACC.
conferences like that. Yeah, possibly even the ACC. And then you're going to leave out a team that's ranked 22nd in the net. I don't buy it. And if that does happen, that's going to be a travesty because that's unfair. They have had a couple of losses that they shouldn't have, encountered. UNLV is one of them. But it's just a matchup thing. And I think I told you this last night before we took the bet on Nevada. I said, this is the most winnable game. And I think UNM is actually a bad matchup for Nevada because Nevada likes to slow it down. We like to push with pace. It all just comes down to matchups. But go ahead and leave out a team that's 20-5 in the country. I mean, on the season at this point with 8 wins in a conference that's highly respected right now, and see where that gets you.
Any final thoughts from anybody else?
Just that I hope that we have Avery Johnson, former San Antonio Spurs player and other teams, also was a coach, I believe, of the Spurs. I hope he calls the game because he called San Diego State's last game and his voice is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Jacob, what does he put? What does your dad call him?
Squeaky.
Ed, go
ahead. He calls him. We'll definitely hear it.
Ed, I'm sorry. We had when he coached the Mavericks and they got to the NBA Finals and lost to Dwayne Wade in 2006. Some reporter, I think from the Dallas Morning News, I can't find it. I couldn't find it last night. It was on YouTube, but they asked him where all the players were from on his team. Or I forgot the question, and can you repeat? Yeah, it was a tragedy. Can you repeat the question? And Avery Johnson gave an answer. He was like, "Well, we got players from all over the world," and he had his voice, in his voice, and he was like, Germany, Israel, Minnesota. So I couldn't find it and I couldn't play it. So it's a terrible, terrible impression of him. But I love him. He's the best. I loved listening to him leading up to the tournament last year. Ed, I'm sorry. Go go ahead.
Well, one more thing, Ryan. You and I have had some great Lobo legends on. We've had Doris Gary, Kenny Thomas, Phil Smith, Mike Winters, and our last guest was Petey Gibson. We got another one on Friday, and we won't say who it is, but keep stay tuned to that. We've got some great Lobos coming on.
Yeah, that's something. I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot. I guess I'm calling it our Lobo Legend series, exclusively here
The
on.
rest of us should try to guess.
Go ahead, Rick.
Daniel Santiago.
Oh no.
No.
Jacob, you can guess. I probably told you.
I don't know if you did.
Good.
Oh man, I know you want Ferris, but you said you didn't want to bug him.
I know Ferris. I'm boys with Ferris. He's
Okay,
just a busy guy, and I don't like to bug him. But we'll eventually get him on because he's the man. Like
I'll go.
I always say, I shoot. It's terrible to say, but he's my favorite. Him and Dontre Moore are my favorite Lobos to talk to.
I'll shoot for the Stars because you brought this up the other day and say Danny Granger, even though I know he's probably not going to accept it.
I wish we could get him on. I know there's a connection I have. I know a guy who knows Danny Granger. I actually have a very good friend that knows a guy who knows Danny Granger, but I don't know what he's doing these days. Eric, I think you know who we have on, so I'm not going to ask you.
I won't ruin it. I do know, but I'm going to say Charles Spider Smith.
That would be legit. One day.
You're right. Just stay tuned. That's it. You never know.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Exclusively here on the Pit Press podcast.
right.
Ed and I enjoy doing that every Friday afternoon. So
I still want you to try. I still want you to try and hit up Hugh Greenwood, Ryan, for that.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Australian
I need to spend all my the company that we work for money that they pay me to buy a and then the girl from KVIA, Rachel Phillips, was like, "You guys said it wrong. It's North Melbourne. They're the North Melbourne Kangaroos," which I mean, it's just probably as bad as the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's we take pride in it. But I didn't think the Australians would have the power to have an Australian football team named the Kangaroos, and they were my team, and they were really bad. And Hugh Greenwood plays for them. And if you've never watched Australian football, you need to, because it's expletive awesome. It's soccer combined with American football combined with hockey on a field like triple the size of an American football field and a soccer field. It's the best. Hey, look out for our Lobo Legends series. Look out for I didn't do it there. Hey, look out for our Lobo Legends series here exclusively on the Pit Press. I know we've mentioned that, but driving that home. We are going to go live from Turquoise Desert Tap Room, which is near Santa Ana Star Casino. Was it 528? And I don't know. You get off on the Bernalillo exit, the first one or the second one, and you make a left. God, I should have looked that up.
It's behind the new Define Fitness. Right behind
is there
it.
That shows how much I go out there. I love his place though. The tables are awesome. It's got all the logos of teams. It's super, super cool. I don't want to butcher the sponsorship because we really appreciate them. I was watching a guy on YouTube last night who had his sponsors and he was really butchering it. So I'm going to shut up, but we will be there live. They are going to have specials from 6 o'clock to close. That game is scheduled to tip UNM at San Diego State on Fox Sports 1 at 8 o'clock. We're going to do a live show there, probably starting about 7. And again, food and drink specials up until from 6 p.m. to close. So excited to be out there. And Eric, do you have anything else to say before I butcher anything else?
Nope. Lastly, just the affordable solar promo that they're still running. Free tickets to the CSU game. Go ahead and visit their website, which I'll include a link down at the bottom of the comment section. Include the hashtag #ThePitPress. Go ahead and get registered for a free consultation with one of their reps to see how easy it could be and how much money you could save transitioning your home electricity to solar. So
something I need to consider. Hey, follow us on X, formerly the artist formerly known as Twitter, at the Pit Press NM. You can follow us on Instagram at the Pit Press NM. We're also on Facebook. and check us out at our website, thepitpressnm.com. Again, something written content is what we're looking to add to. It's just finding time. Check us out there, our YouTube channel. And I, again, still can't believe I'm saying this. Hit like, hit subscribe on the bottom. On behalf of Ricky Thompson, Jacob Neff, Ed Nunez, Eric Moulton, my name is Ryan Tamori. We appreciate all the support and all the comments and all the interactions. We will talk to you live prior to, the second biggest game probably of the year. UNM travels to San Diego State. Everybody have a great rest of your week and enjoy that game.